Should Terry Pegula really sell the Buffalo Sabres? What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video of Sports Talk Buffalo. The Buffalo Sabres have been struggling of late. They have now lost 7 in a row, going 0-4-3 in those 7 games. And much like the calls last year, there are many people online, at least that I see, that are continuously calling for Terry Pegula to sell the Buffalo Sabres. Now, in my opinion, I think that is asinine. And I only say that it is asinine because if you look at the facts of if Pegula sells the Buffalo Sabres, it's a very strong likelihood that the Buffalo Sabres will no longer be in Buffalo. Right? If Pegula gets anywhere near the reported $1.13 billion that this Buffalo Sabres franchise is currently worth, according to Forbes, there's no way that an owner is going to spend that much money and keep the team in Western New York. And the reason for that is Western New York just can't afford it. They just can't afford the amount of money that it would take for this team to be profitable, and no business owner is going to come in and invest $1 billion to lose money. And not just lose money, even if the Sabres were profitable, he's not going to invest $1 billion for the very minuscule amount of money that he would likely get in return to recoup that $1 billion and start actually generating some money. Now, people will say, oh, well, what happened the last time the Sabres were sold? You know, the NHL stepped in. The NHL did step in, and that saved the Buffalo Sabres like no other. The Sabres were really in trouble with potentially losing this team. The city was in trouble with potentially losing this Buffalo Sabres team. I don't know how old a lot of you guys are out there that watch the Sabres anymore. But for those of us who are old enough, it was a stressful time before Tom Golisano bought this Buffalo Sabres team. There was real talks about the Sabres getting moved out of Buffalo. Real talks. And it came down to like midnight. They had a show on Empire talking about the likelihood of the Sabres being potentially moved out of Buffalo. And in the last few hours, a couple of different guys decided to step in and try to save this franchise for Western New York. It was Hamster and Golisano. Now, Hamster, his partner dropped out, so he needed to get some government funding in order to secure the team because they had originally rejected Golisano's offer. Golisano did not need government funding, so they ended up going with Tom Golisano's offer. Now, what I read was he bought the team for $92 million in 2003. However, the team was in bankruptcy and owed $25 million. So upon purchase of the team, Golisano didn't actually buy the team for $92 million. $25 million of that money was forgiven in the bankruptcy / purchase of the sale, from what I read anyway online, for Tom Golisano, which means this man paid closer to $70 million for this franchise. That's the Buffalo Sabres cap currently. That's right around where the Buffalo Sabres are in terms of cap. That's how much the team makes on a given year. The entire team, the whole franchise sold for about $70 million. And we'll just say $92 million. The whole franchise was sold for $92 million to Tom Golisano. $92 million. From what I read on hockey, I think it's hockeywriters.com, what I was just reading was before Golisano bought this team, the Sabres were losing more than 6 figures, 7 figures a year. They were losing multiple millions of dollars a year on this franchise. That's why they ended up going in bankruptcy in the first place. Golisano comes in, inherited Regeer, inherited Lindy Ruff. Both of those guys were already in place when Tom Golisano bought the team. So he did not have to do any hiring at all. He just lucked out and happened to buy the team that was already primed to potentially do well and was already set in terms of like front office and head coach. Now, Darcy Regeer and Lindy Ruff really are what made that team good. However, he was also able to provide a structure that the team could follow, that they could be profitable for the first time in many, many, many years. But do you know what that profit was just 20 years ago? Between $5 and $12 million. That's it. And this is why I say it is ridiculous to think that someone is going to spend $1 billion, potentially $1.1 billion for this Buffalo Sabres team with profits of $5 to $12 million. And that is when the team is absolutely killing it. The Sabres, when Golisano bought them after the lockout, were tremendous. They were very good. They were incredibly fun to watch. The place was sold out constantly. They had a waiting list for season tickets. And all it equated to was a profit of $5 to $12 million. If you think that is enough for a $1 billion franchise, I think you are sorely mistaken. Now, for Golisano, who spent less than $100 million on him, $5 to $12 million is tremendous. That's a very good return on your money. That's a very good return on your investment. However, do you think the new owner wants to come in potentially losing money? Because I don't know for a fact, but I know you look in that arena, the Sabres are losing money. They have to be. Nobody shows up to games. They have a very weak TV deal. There's not a ton of huge corporate sponsors that the Sabres can put in all of the suites. There's not enough huge corporate sponsors that they could put around the boards, right? We've had the same, handful of sponsors that we've had for 20 plus years. Where are the Sabres going to get this extra money from? Where does it all come from? So let's say Terry Pegula sells this team for $1.1 billion. Where is it coming from? Does the new owner really want to spend $1 billion on the team and then lose potentially millions upon millions upon millions of dollars to try to hopefully get this team right? And then by that time, he's more than $1.5 billion probably dollars in debt buying this team. He's going to start cutting corners too. There's not many people, either that or they're going to raise ticket prices to an astronomical amount, to an amount that most people in Western New York cannot afford. You look at what's happening with the Buffalo Bills currently right now, everyone is complaining about all of the ticket prices for the Buffalo Bills. Everyone wanted the shiny new stadium, right? Oh, we got to have a new stadium. They're putting a stadium in. It's costing over $2.5 billion for a new football stadium, which fine, great. Love it. I hope that it is one of the most amazing stadiums in the entire league to keep that team in Buffalo. But now you're going to complain that you have to pay for it? No shit. What did you think was going to happen? That Pegula was just going to eat a third of his net worth and say, it's fine, don't worry about it. That's crazy. That's crazy. For anyone who thinks that, it's crazy. Which, by the way, a majority of Terry Pegula's net worth is the Sabres and the Bills. And now probably what's going to be the new Highmark Stadium, because hopefully he owns that piece of real estate. I would hope for his sake. Right? He doesn't own the stadium now. The county owns it. So like a majority of his net worth is coming from the teams that he owns. So in order to get more money, he would have to sell those teams in order to... It doesn't work, people. Just because your net worth is $7 billion does not mean you have that cash in the bank. That's not how that works, for anybody who's wondering. I hope you know that. it's crazy to think that the Buffalo Sabres selling the team would in any way be good for the Buffalo Sabres. As a matter of fact, I think it would be horrible because, as I've stated, this team would get moved. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am so incredibly wrong. And you know what? I honestly hope and pray that I am wrong. I hope that if Terry Pegula ever sells this Buffalo Sabres team, that I am so far off base. You know why? Because that means my favorite team stays in Western New York. But people got to stop this fucking fantasy about, well, it's a good hockey market. That good hockey market doesn't pay the fucking bills. It doesn't pay the bills. And realistically, we don't have the population, and we don't have the money. The median income in Western New York is lower than the national median average, or the national median household income by several $1,000s. That's not chump change, people. The city of Buffalo itself has been one of the poorest cities in the country for a long time. Western New York, realistically, altogether, you use the entire county, there's only what? A little bit less than 1 million people, maybe 1 million people. As far as I understand, Western New York is the smallest market in the country with 2 professional sports teams in the top 4 out of the major 4 sports. The NFL, the NBA, the NHL, and the MLB. Buffalo is incredibly small to have 2 major sports teams. And the reason why it works with Terry Pegula is because Pegula only bought this team for like $165 million. It works because he only spent $165 million to buy the Sabres. He can make that profitable. Somebody coming in and spending almost 10 times that, it's crazy to think that we can afford this. And again, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But I look at the numbers and I just think there's no way. We have some of the lowest ticket prices in the NHL. Still. And we've had some of the lowest ticket prices in the NHL for as long as I can remember. Even when the team is doing good, we are still in like the bottom 20 in terms of ticket prices because we just can't afford it. That is the real problem with selling the Buffalo Sabres. You look at people in Toronto, there's 2 million people in just the city of Toronto, and now you're talking about the greater Toronto area. And it's comparable to like New York City in terms of how much those people are making. I'm sure they're taxed out their ass, much like New York City. But those people pay a ton of money to go to Maple Leaf games. Good or bad doesn't matter. For them, it's like a once in a while event because it's so expensive. For the Buffalo Sabres, it's not a once in a while thing, but it would have to be. But we don't have the population for it to be a once in a while thing. The numbers just don't seem to work. And again, I only did a very shallow analysis of this, and this is what I'm coming up with. The early look is it just doesn't work. Unless the Sabres get a brand new great TV deal, unless they can get ESPN to pay them a bunch more money, the NHL gets a brand new TV deal in which that pays all the teams a bunch more money, unless they can find some other corporate sponsors in the area that will pay them a bunch of money, that will buy the suites in the First Niagara Center. It just wouldn't work if Pegula sold this team for $1 billion, what they're currently worth according to Forbes. And not only that, Pegula would still own the Harbor Center, so that means whoever bought the team would likely have to rent out the Harbor Center from Terry Pegula. Either that or buy the Harbor Center also, which is another couple $100 million. We don't take all these things to account. We just let our fandom get in the way. We let our fandom get in the way and say, Buffalo's a great hockey market. It is. There are no lies detected. Buffalo is a great hockey market. It just happens to be a poor hockey market. And I don't mean poor in terms of fans. I mean poor in terms of money. We just don't have money. We don't have businesses in the area to help support this team. We are at a point now where the team, I would surmise, can really only get fixed if Terry Pegula can finally hire the right people. And I honestly think that he starts to pay more attention to this team. We all complain, but he starts to pay more attention to this team when the building of the new Highmark Stadium is finished. I really do. I think when that is finished, he will turn his attention back to the Sabres. He will start putting more money towards the Sabres. The cap space nonsense will be lifted. He'll be able to spend to the cap again, and the Sabres could potentially fire Kevyn Adams and hire another GM or whatever the case may be. Hopefully, it's a lot sooner than that because Kevyn Adams is dog shit. But I think we do have to wait a couple more years for Terry Pegula to really start putting more money into this Buffalo Sabres franchise. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed. He's tried to upgrade a bunch of things within the First Niagara Center, right? The concourses, the scoreboards, all that kind of stuff, the food inside, the whole 9 yards. He's really tried to upgrade a bunch. He's tried to do a bunch of different things on the ice. He's had 4 different GMs. He's had 7 different head coaches. He's still paying for all those guys. You know that, right? He's still paying for the guys like Dan Bilesma, who he fired a few years ago, who had a contract for, I think, 5 years and however many $1 million a year. When you fire them, you don't just stop paying them. You still got to pay these guys. You got to pay them what their contract says. So Pegula is just shelling out money constantly, right? And I'm not sitting here saying, oh, boo-hoo, feel bad for Terry Pegula. I'm here saying, be careful what you wish for. Because what you wish for might mean no more NHL in Western New York. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. I try to answer each and every one of you guys. I, as you can tell, absolutely hate the thought of potentially losing the Buffalo Sabres and the NHL in Western New York altogether. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a video. I talk Bills, Sabres, and the University at Buffalo men's basketball and football teams right here on this page. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, have a fantastic week.